as businesses are going through their digital transformation, I sense that they're not realizing how dependent they are becoming on their external service providers. And the reason is probably, well, first of all, they probably don't even consciously go through a digital transformation exercise. They just need to keep up with the competition. And a lot of new enterprise SaaS services are becoming available. And the business, people in marketing, for example, or the sales department, or even in the engineering or the manufacturing divisions, they see these new services, they sense the opportunities, and they want to make use of them. And they knock on the door of the IT department to help them implement these new services. But the IT department has a lot of trouble already finding technical skills in the market. There's definitely a shortage already. And they certainly don't have the experience with these new tools in-house. So what they do is they go outside, they contract consultants to help them implement these new solutions. But then after these solutions have been implemented, they need somebody to take care of them, to manage these services. And then what is actually happening, in some cases quite unconsciously, these consulting firms, they become managed service providers. Very specialized, maybe they only manage, let's say, Salesforce environments for their customers, or SAP environments, Concur environments. There's so many new SaaS applications being made available now, and they need to be supported. And these consulting firms are now the go-to for organizations when the IT department is asked by the business for those solutions. So what we see happening is very selective outsourcing, more or less organically, to specialized MSPs. And even though those organizations might not consider themselves MSPs even, effectively they are managing services for external providers. And even though people may not realize that they're selectively outsourcing more and more of their services and essentially collecting 10, 20, 30, some organizations over 50 managed service providers, SIAM is becoming a crucial part within the organization to stay in control of all those external providers, all those contracts that they have, and making sure from a day-to-day basis that everybody plays nicely and that these services are integrated with each other so that the enterprise employee gets the tools that he or she needs to be successful. Because in the end, that makes the enterprise employee happy, of course, because if they're successful in their job, it makes them feel good. But in the end, it's, of course, the stakeholders in the company, specifically the shareholders, that want their employees to be successful, so that the company as a whole becomes more productive and therefore more successful. So this is kind of what we see happening in the market. And having SIAM is not something new, except that we now stuck a label on it called SIAM. And even though we've been doing it on a day-to-day basis, probably not so explicitly, but we have been doing this already. But now we're structuring the thinking around SIAM, we're sharing knowledge around SIAM, and we're establishing a common language around managing all these internal and external providers that the enterprise has to deal with. And I think it is fantastic that this is happening, but it's so important that this is happening now because we see the rate of selective outsourcing accelerate as more and more enterprise SaaS services are brought to market. So my top tip for an enterprise looking to adopt the SIAM approach, there are quite a few actually, but if I had to pick just one, it would be look at how to practically realize the ability to not just report on the quality of service that you're getting from all your internal and external providers, but also look at the ability for you to seamlessly work together with your external providers. Because in the end, that's where we see most SIAM initiatives not necessarily fail, but lose a lot of time. Because the integrations that organizations typically build to be able to communicate with their external providers, to pass tickets essentially from the enterprise to the providers, they take a long time to build, and they're very expensive, and it's completely underestimated what the cost is, not just of building them, but subsequently maintaining them. And please focus on that, because if you don't, then you may have a fantastic SIAM organization set up within the enterprise to make sure that everybody can function properly, but if you don't have the tools that enable it, it is still going to fail. Now, the reason why everybody should be excited about SIAM is not because it allows large organizations, whether they're government institutions or large enterprises, to manage all their internal and their external providers. The reason why this is so fundamentally important for us as a species, as the human race, to move forward, to continuously be able to increase our standards of living, is that SIAM allows organizations to specialize. And I don't mean just the enterprise organizations, because essentially what we see happening is that within the enterprise there's the IT organization, and this IT organization is just overwhelmed. They have so many services to take care of, where it used to be just the network, the servers, the storage, the personal computing environment, the printers. And nowadays they have over 100 application services to take care of, to make sure that the enterprise employees can be successful. And there's no way they can be superstars at running these services, because they're just spread too thin. They cannot attract the talent or the experience from the market, because there's such a shortage for all these popular tools like Salesforce, like SAP, Workday, you name them. The organizations are all forced to outsource the maintenance of these services, the management of these services, to these specialized MSPs. But by doing so, by creating essentially this market where there are hundreds of specialized MSPs, some of them they make sure that they help bring enterprises onto AWS or Azure, for example. It's super specialized, but those MSPs are able to attract the talent that they need because of their specialization. They are able to attract the people that are really enthusiastic about that specific technology. And by having that transformation where people can work for an organization that specializes in the technology that they are enthusiastic about, that they can learn from hundreds of customers that these MSPs support, and they run into a variety of problems every day that are essentially puzzles that they're excited about, and they solve it for one customer, and the next customer that runs into a similar problem, they can help them far more efficiently. They can bring that knowledge to all these other organizations, and they have such a large customer base on that specific technology that they can start to really concentrate on automating more and more of the work that they would otherwise have to do manually, so that they can again spend more time concentrating on the things that they're truly interested in, rather than doing repetitive work. And over time we get to this situation, and it's happening really fast now, where large enterprises, they are working together with 10, 20, 30, 50. I foresee a future where a typical enterprise will work together with more than 100 specialized managed service providers. Essentially, we're talking extremely selective outsourcing. And because they're so selective in their outsourcing initiatives, they are able to get a better quality of service and be able to swap out MSPs that they're not so happy with much more quickly. And that forces the MSPs to raise their bar to provide better quality of service to all their customers. But overall, what is happening is that specialization occurs. The enterprise IT employees, they become superstars at managing MSPs essentially, and negotiating contracts with them that they can legally get out of, but also make sure that they can technically get out of these contracts when they're not satisfied. Things like that, they become specialized at that. And the MSPs, they become more and more specialized at what they do. And this specialization drives productivity. So as people specialize more and more, they become more and more productive. And this increase in productivity ultimately translates in cheaper and better quality products and services for us as consumers, thus raising our standard of living. And that's the reason why I believe that SIAM is far more important and exciting than most people realize.